Management Research. Hello and welcome to the Management Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene. Hello and welcome to the next episode in our mini-series on heuristics. In the last episode, we talked about individual level heuristics, and we mentioned that according at least to our theory with Professor Yevgen is that we have like two levels of individual heuristics. The universal individual heuristics, as for example, take the best, take the first fluency heuristic mentioned by Yevgen in his works. And we have the individual level individual heuristics, the rules that we develop for ourselves in order to make our life a bit better and make our decision making a bit simpler and highly efficient and highly effective. Today we're going to talk about the organizational level, and at the organizational level we also have heuristics. There are plenty of works that show that organizations, they do have the heuristics and they apply them as the capability. I do not agree that a heuristic can be a substitute for a capability. In our works, we argue that the heuristic is a moderator, the thing that makes your routines, make your capabilities work better, more efficient, more effective. It can also be a bad example that a heuristic may make your capabilities to work worse or slower. Anyway, there are plenty of researchers who make research in the field of heuristics in organizations, and I think Bingham and Eisenhardt, they're those most known for this approach. And what they say that organizations have their organizational level individual heuristics. Organizations develop their own rules in order to make better decisions. And they give some examples. I think we referred already to some of the examples when we had a debate about dynamic capabilities. But I'm going to share with you some of the examples one more time. One of the examples would be one of the organizations that decided to work mainly with the English-speaking countries. And it is not about the language only, but if you look at different countries with whom you can interact, there will be 145, 150 countries. But in order to simplify your decision-making, it might be useful to focus on those that have the English as their native tongue. It's not only because of the language. Of course, if you come from the UK, then it's easier to make negotiations in your mother tongue than, for example, having a translator or looking for an employee who also speaks German or Ukrainian. But usually, most of these English-speaking countries, they are also common law countries, so they have a similar legal system. It means the documents that they produce will also be very similar, so if you develop new contracts, they will be easier to develop and easier to understand. And usually the common law countries have a lower level of corruption, and usually the English-speaking countries, they also belong to the Commonwealth countries, some of them, not all of them, which makes the cultural difference a bit smaller. So this heuristic is on the one hand side restricting the field, the decision-making field, the options that you can grasp to. On the other hand, imagine how much time, how much efforts you have to put into analyzing all the opportunities of all the 145 or 150 countries. It will be too much of work. If you reduce this number of countries to only, let's say, 25, those who speak English, those who are common law countries, Commonwealth countries, and so on, then you can make your life easier and you can make your decision faster, and at the end, they might be even more effective and more efficient. Each organization can develop their own set of rules, how they want to treat their clients, how they want to develop their business, what kind of markets they want to enter, and so on. We know several organizations that have similar rules. For example, introduce a new product every half a year, introducing a completely new product every 3 years, working with the specific markets, working only with the growing markets, working only with specific technologies and not going away from the technologies that are at the core or that belong to their core competence. These simple rules, they are individually developed for each organization. So it means they will hold in this organization, but they might not hold in a different organization. And that is why it is so interesting. But you have to understand that it can happen that this set of rules may also make things worse. So each time you develop a new rule, you have to think about your experience and you have to try to optimize this experience in order to make your future decision making better. If you develop a wrong rule and say that everybody now has to work with only English-speaking countries and you ignore the others, and there are new markets that you ignore or that you don't notice because you don't focus on them, you don't think of them, then at the end you might lose something. That is why you have to be very conscious about what is going to happen, what are the good rules. They should come from your experience and they should be also future directed. Remember, your experience are past directed. Your experience comes from something that happened. It doesn't mean it will happen again. That is why it is very important how you develop heuristics. Most organizations that I know, they develop them in a kind of unconscious way. They just decide on something without really being aware that it is a new rule that might speed up or slow down different other capabilities or routines within the organization. If you do it consciously, yet you may become more successful and you may become also more dynamic. And in this dynamic world, I think the dynamic capability is what we need, and such heuristics may speed up or may reinforce your dynamic capabilities. I hope it was interesting and useful. Wish you all the best with your practice or with your research, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you in the next episode where we are going to talk about the universal organizational heuristics. See you next time. Bye bye.